Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up? This is Tony Gapastione. I am live right now from Redwood City, California. I'm in the Brave Maker headquarters, and today I'm bringing in my friend, special guest, co-writer, co-creator with some projects I'm working on, my friend, Jeremy Valdez. Jeremy.
What's happening, everybody? This is Jeremy Valdez coming to you live from Hollywood, California, USA. Okay, that's my intro. All right, let's go. We're ready.
Jeremy's looking like you're doing some voiceover work over here. I love it. So Jeremy.
Actually, I just finished doing a voiceover audition in my little sound booth area.
Yes, you did. We're going to talk all about that today. We want to talk. So some of you who are Brave Maker community and filmmaker and friends and audience, you might know Jeremy because he was in the very first film I ever directed called 1440 and Counting. That's how we met in 2014. He was also, check this out, we have 102 podcasts on the Brave Maker show, and he was number 17. So if you want more of the backstory of Jeremy, which we won't have time to go into today, you can go to our podcast, and he's number 17. We basically talk about how we met, but let's just do a quick intro of that for people who haven't heard your backstory. First, give a little bit of how you got into acting, and then we'll talk about how we met and started collaborating. So I want to talk all about the screenwriting and producing process with you today.
Oh, well, I moved to Hollywood at the end of 1999 just to act and play music. I was a guitar player in a bunch of different bands, and I landed here, didn't know what to do, and just kind of started doing it. Took acting classes and got an agent, got a manager, and started doing that, and met you a few years ago, well, quite a few years ago now, and I had some story ideas. I wanted to write more, and I pitched you an idea, and you're like, yeah, let's write that together. And that's how we started writing together.
It's funny because at the time when we had met, so you were acting and I was directing. We started connecting as friends, felt like we hit it off. Like, oh, this is really cool. I'd come to LA, we'd hang out. We were chatting, kind of mutually trying to encourage each other in our own respective lanes. Like, yeah, go Jeremy, be the actor, You'd say you had auditions and callbacks, you booked some things. It was cool. We were celebrating that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, I'm trying to hustle and make my other films come to life. And then all of a sudden, yeah, you said one day, hey, why don't we write together? And it was interesting when you said that, because I was feeling like I was hitting the ceiling in some other ways with other potential collaborators that weren't working out. But then all of a sudden you said that, and I was like, duh, why wouldn't we do that? Well, this is a natural connection. We had already been established and we had worked together. And I thought, the reminder to me was you just never know who's going to be a collaborator. Sometimes they're just right in your circle already. You don't even realize it. And that's what kind of made me really happy, is that, it was like this surprise gift, and then it took our relationship deeper, and I got to watch your family grow and that kind of thing. And it's just really, really cool and very special, I'll say. So let's chat. Okay. So let's chat about this process of where we are right now. So you and I, we have 2 television shows we've developed together and 1 feature film.
And 1 feature, right?
Yep. So let's talk about this process we are in right now, where we just were in LA less than a month ago, filming a proof of concept for this TV show that we have now been picked up with a production company that they are trying to shop on our behalf. So let's talk about that whole process.
With the production company. Essentially, Tony and I, you and I, I don't know how we're saying this, but you and I wrote these TV script ideas and this film idea together. And I've been in this business for, golly, like almost 20 years. And I've been pitching these scripts to everybody and anybody I know. And we finally got a bite from a really phenomenal production company who is interested in one of our scripts. We signed a shopping deal with them. And they're like, great, we love the idea. Let's, as a sales tool, they said they wanted to finance a teaser trailer, proof of concept. And then they wanted to hire a company to do a lookbook, pitch deck. And that's where we are right now. The teaser trailer's been done, and the pitch deck, we're doing final touches to it. And it's been a really exciting, crazy process. And we've learned a lot about each other and our working relationships and the pluses and minuses and learning experiences that come along with a collaboration. It's much different than when you're doing it all yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's talk about that. And if you're watching us live, feel free to pop in a question. We also have one of our Brave Makers who's listening live and can help navigate and put out some quotes and things. But we hope that this can provide sort of a learning experience for people. And we're going to basically put our collaborative relationship out here for you all. Let's chat about, okay, so when you're making something together, we're 50-50 in this whole idea. We're writing together, we're giving each other notes, we're kind of pushing back, like, I don't know if I like that. Mm-hmm. Let's chat a little bit about that. And then I want to like the relational end of how you navigate that. And then we'll talk about like the fact that there's legal stuff like that we have to do to get our ducks in a row. So let's first talk about like, what is something, and this is fun because this is going to be a live debrief of our production day. We've obviously talked about how the production went for the proof of concept, but we didn't do like this official, hey, this is what we learned or what we could have done better. Or remember that one moment when I said this or you said this or that happened. So we're going to do a little bit of that today too. But what's something that you took away from our collaborative relationship that has been like surprising to you or even like difficult and challenging?
Well, I will tell you the absolute biggest lesson I've learned and biggest thing I've taken away has been bigger picture. That's it. Bigger picture, man. Look at the bigger picture. You're going to have these little arguments or ego-driven things that come up along the way, and you can become mired down in those. And the biggest thing for me is, because I'm very ego-driven, is and I'm brave enough to admit that, but is to step back, step away from that, and look at the bigger picture. What serves the collaborative process? What serves the project? Not what serves you and your ego, but what best serves the collaborative project piece, whatever you're working on, or your relationship with your collaborator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I hear you say that too, I think about how often you hear these kind of horror stories of two people working together and it kind of goes awry and they have conflicts and they just have to divide. Like, not only do they lose their creative project, but they lose their friendship too. And I think that was something I didn't think about that at first. Like, I was like, oh, I like this guy. This is fun. Let's do this. Let's write together. And then I realized, oh, this is challenging at times, because what I love about you is you're very different than me. You have a different outlook on life. Jeremy usually says everything he's thinking off the top of his head. And I appreciate that, because sometimes I'm like, I could get it in my head a little bit before I say something, but Jeremy will just cut the BS, and I like that. You need that on a team.
A positive and a negative sometimes.
It can be. Sure, we've had to work through that.
I run my mouth and things come out of my mouth where I'm like, ooh, I wish I would have thought more about that before I said that. But you know what?
But that's what I like about you, because I think in this industry you need a lot of that, because a lot of people can blow smoke up your butt and make you feel and say and think a lot of things that aren't true. So I think what's important is that there's something to consider in how we relate to each other, and that, like, going, I need what Jeremy brings to the table. I need that outspokenness. And I think one thing that's been interesting is for us to go, okay, how do we check in with each other regarding the personal feelings? Like, so, hey, you brought this idea, or I brought that idea. How do we push back in a way that doesn't make it personal? I think what you just said is good for me. Like, let's raise it up at a higher level. What's the best thing for the project? What's our ultimate goal here? Like, our ultimate goal is we want to write in TV and film. We want to
have wins. We want to have check marks in the win column, right? And we at this point with this project and with a couple of other projects, we have opportunities. And if our egos get in the way, we can screw those up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just that happens all the time. Mm-hmm. I have friends that are writers, producers, directors, actors that have been in relationships, collaborative relationships that went awry, and it ended up burying the projects that they were in.
Yeah. Yeah. When we were on set a couple weeks ago in LA, so Jeremy and I wrote the script, and then this production company says, hey, create a teaser version of this. So what scenes do you want to film that we can use to showcase what the story's about? So we're like, okay, cool. So we dig into this 30-some page script, and we narrowed it down to like
20 pages. Yeah, this would be great. Wait a second. 20-page teaser trailer? That's a little long. And we just had to whittling it down until it got to 2 minutes. And that was also a serious challenge where we bumped heads on a couple of spaces saying, like, I think this is an important moment. Well, I think this is an important moment. Well, what serves the project, and then what's going to be funny, and what's going to sell the project, bigger picture.
Yep. Yeah, so we had to navigate all that stuff, and we did a lot of writing together. Like, we would Zoom call together, we'd be on the phone, we'd be chopping away, and then we'd go off and kind of do some of our respective own work, come back again, look at it, edit it, and then it's not just me and Jeremy anymore. It's us and Derica Barbie. So shout out to Derica, who's the producer on the project, and Ali Afshar, who is executive producer on the project, and one of my favorite names to say is Sean Piccinino, who directed the project, right? Like, so then we're working with these other collaborators, which I want to talk about that. So being on set together, we're there as co-writers and producers, but we weren't directing the project. Mm-hmm. We weren't funding the project. So that's where we kind of had to release some of the stuff. Even when we did all that writing and narrowed stuff down, there were still things like we had to compromise, and we had to compromise on the fact that we wanted to shoot this over 2 days, and then it became, because of financial reasons, only 1 day. So we had to really cut things down even more and trim it down. But so what's your feedback? What's your thoughts on the day of? What did you learn as a producer, writer of that on that set?
It was very difficult for me. It was very difficult for me from my creative mind as an actor, learning, I had to step back and let Sean direct, but I also had a lot of input, and you and I both did. We were sidebarring the whole time, going like, wait, that line's not working. This moment isn't working. I don't understand why he's doing this. And so that caused me some anxiety, but, we were able to be collaborative with Sean during that process. He was open to our ideas. I wanted to make sure I respectfully interacted with him and interacted with the actors, and didn't go around him or over him, instead trying to, like we said, make it a collaborative process. So it was very stressful for me. And not to mention, we were trying to fit a lot of stuff into a very short time period. Yep. But the fact that we had an incredible director, an incredible director of photography, Brad was just really, really great. And our actors are all aces, right? They're all top notch, best of the best. So, that alleviated a lot of stress. And then everybody's willingness to kind of do whatever it took. We were getting drinks for our actors, or we were at one point, I was powdering up one of the actors because his face was shiny and I had his powder kit and I was like, here you go, dude. Yeah, you look good, you know? But the great thing is when you see the teaser trailer, it's way, way better than I ever expected. And everybody's passion and everybody's willingness to work with one another really shows.
Yeah, so you're all watching right now. You'll see, if you're watching live or on the replay, you're seeing some photos by director Sean Piccinino, and he put a little slideshow together. I totally concur with your challenge of being on set. Like for me, I'm used to being the director, and so at this point, I was like, oh, I'm not calling the shots here. I'm not working with the actors, but I also know what it's like to work with producers. Like shout out to one of my favorite producers, Jessica Musgrave, and know like I need that support. So I felt like you and I both we got to navigate with Sean, and he was super receptive. So shout out to Sean, whose Netflix film A California Christmas was like one of the top Christmas films in December.
So one film on Netflix for the month of December.
So go check it out if you want a little Christmas in March. But Sean was really great to work with, and I think he received all of our notes well. And when he felt like he needed to push back, he pushed back. And there were time constraints and light constraints as always. And how many freaking camera breakdowns or gimbal issues did we have? Like that was like so hard and frustrating.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about this. I loved that. Okay. So you and I, one of the things that was a learning experience for me is the rewriting on set. Like, so we had all this stuff that we had in the script, but there were times when Sean, as a director, was like, hey, I need an intro, a ramp into the scene. So I need 2 or 3, pieces of dialogue. So we would go, okay, cool. And we would write things down, and write what they call alts or alternative lines. And there was a couple times where I was like, you and I are both pitching lines. And that's where I go, like, our egos can get in the way where I go, well, I want my line, you want your line. How do we compromise on that? And there was this one moment, I don't know if you remember, where it was like, I had made this suggestion. You're like, wait, does that mean you're getting rid of mine? I'm like, no, I'm not getting rid of your line. But in the moment, everything's running so fast. Yeah. And it's like, how do you check in with one another? I think that's like really important because set life is so fast. But I felt like, I don't know what you thought about this, we were able to check in, go. You're doing makeup. I'm, running drinks. I am, picking up people's wardrobe from their car to the fitting room. And I felt like in a lot of ways, we had some really good synchronicity. At the end of the day, we're like, victory. So even though it was hard and it was like a 14-hour day, at the end of the day, I felt like we were super happy and even more happier when we saw the final product.
Oh, yeah.
What thoughts come to your mind in that? Like, does anything come like, what could we have done better? Did you feel like in the moment when, and I'm asking for this live, like anything, if you knew I wouldn't get defensive, what would you tell me? By the way, I'm seeing all of your comments and questions, y'all. So we're going to get to it. We're definitely going to get to it.
Nothing really. So, the next day, somebody asked me, like, scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the experience? And I said 10. It way more than exceeded my expectations, not just the finished product, but the experience itself.
Yeah.
Right. Although I was filled with anxiety because there's so much is riding on this, but everybody showed up. And I think the fact that we'd worked together for so many years now, that we know how to converse with one another. You know how to handle me. I know how to handle you. And so that helped. That experience, but it was like a 10 out of 10 for me. So I don't know. I like really hurt my shoulder when we had to move that couch.
Oh my gosh. That's the other thing too. Like we're moving freaking furniture and we're picking things. Like I'm sweating and we're all wearing masks. Don't forget, as well as face shields, because this is pandemic, right? So we're sweating. But that's where I go, like, that's what makes a good story is that we all had to work hard. We did whatever it took. Like, this is our baby. We want this baby to thrive. And you're right. I love that we know each other so well. Jeremy had to move this freaking huge taco truck in like a 13-point turn out of the smallest, most compact LA parking spot you could ever imagine. And I love it, dude. Like, you were driving this big thing and I just got to be right there with you. That's one of my favorite moments.
Everybody's like, who's going to move the truck? I was like, give me the keys. I'll do it. And I was like, what did I get myself into? It was just, that was so stressful.
Oh my gosh. Okay. People are asking when and where can they see the trailer? Hi, Betty Lou. Hi, Nicole. You want to answer that?
So it's a sales tool. And maybe eventually we can share that, but the way it is now, we can't really share that. It's unfortunately, because I want everybody to see it, and it's killing me that I can't like post it or like, like check this out. This is what we're working on. But you just, it's it's the production companies, and we can't let it out for people to see before networks and studios and stuff get to see it. Because then they'll be like, oh, I saw that. Everybody wants to feel like, oh, I'm seeing it first. I'm the first person to see it. So unfortunately, we can't share it.
And at this point, we're not even really sharing the name of the show. So we have a lot of like non-disclosure things that are happening, which is fun. There's a little bit of mystery around it. And as this project is getting launched, so our producer, Derica Barbie is working on getting this lookbook and this pitch deck together to be able to send out. We're actually starting our next project to clear up and clean up this other script that's been kind of lingering in the wings, waiting for us to pop that up and start working on this, which is super exciting. But let's take a question.
Just say this real quick.
Go ahead.
In things like this, we made sure that we put together the best team possible that we could. And what we ended up with was just excellent people in every position, and people that were very detail oriented. I mean, Derica Barbie, our producer, she's so detail oriented. And we were, the day of, even though it was stressful, we had already been planning to stay for weeks. And so it was kind of, everything was planned out to a T so that no balls got dropped. And I always say, just surround yourself with the absolute best people you can, because, it's a cliche, but you're only as strong as your weakest link. And I didn't think there were any weak links. So.
And also kudos to all the actors that you personally had relationships with. All of them is really cool.
Favors,
to watch how which is, again, welcome to the acting industry, is doing favors for your friends. And thankfully we were able to pay all the actors, which felt like super cool. And I got to highlight one of them is Super Survivor Wu Huang. Shout out to Wu, who Jeremy met on a commercial shoot, and I had just started becoming a fan of Survivor. And so when he told me, I got this guy, I'm gonna cast him in this role, he's perfect, I'm like, who is he? He's like, Wu Huang. I'm like, Wu from Survivor?
I did a Dodge commercial with Wu last January, and we just hit it off, and I was like, I want to work with this dude.
Dude, he is so phenomenal. And so now, like, it's fun. Like, I get to be friends with him. And he did a personal birthday message for my daughter last week. Like, sent her this thing. It was like super sweet, dude. So I love that. This is so much what I love about the entertainment industry. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of ego checks and things like that. But there's a lot of really cool things that surface, in relationships. And I'm just really grateful, dude, that we get to do this together and make other relationships along the way. And thank you again.
Some of these questions.
Yeah, let's do it. Vincent.
Can you talk about the types of themes that you guys explore individually and collectively? Themes, with our, how our process kind of works is one of us kind of has an idea and maps it out a little bit, or just has an idea of what we think would make a cool show or a cool script or a cool film. And we call up the other guy and we're like, hey, dude, what do you think of this? And sometimes the other person's like, yes, let's work on that. And sometimes they're like, I'm not really feeling that. Or, that's, I'm not really interested in working on that right now. And that honesty can sometimes be a little tough, or it can be really cool. So that's the way we kind of explore those ideas. Whether they're the themes, I'm not sure what's meant by that, but
I would say, so Jeremy and I, obviously we're both guys, we're straight. I am Caucasian. He is Latino and Native American. So there's some things that come up there. We're both in entertainment. Like, he's an actor, way more experienced than I. He's been over 50 different shows and films, and been to Sundance multiple times. So we definitely have a love of storytelling and of the industry. And Jeremy, in this particular show we're talking about, as he lives in LA, the show that we're talking about is set in LA, and we are talking about things like gentrification, as well as cultural identity, ethnic identity, and as well as sexuality, things that we're both, he has a whole film that basically, like, once you say La Mission launched your career, where you really became like something, when that was
it took me to another level. But
yeah,
I played an LGBTQ character, which I got to be the grand marshal of the gay pride parade in San Francisco, and I wasn't, that community embraced me. So I really got to spend a lot of time talking to members of that community and getting to know them and understanding that. And that's kind of, there's a theme of that in our pilot, in our show. So I got to incorporate that.
I'd say too, for us, our relationship has been really cool, and this sounds like super industry in LA, but it is spiritual. Like Jeremy and I have a lot of conversations on spirituality. Like, we both practice faith in our own unique ways, and have sometimes deep conversations about how that impacts us, obviously, as humans, but entertainers, as husbands, as parents. And so I like to think that those themes is in our work too. I can think of some of our characters who practice spirituality in this show we're talking about, and it's just really fun. And we want to do it in a way that's real, but also comical. And I like to poke at religion too, because it's a big part of my life. And if you're a human being and you walk the planet Earth, you have in some way encountered religion that has been off-putting. And I think that's kind of stuff that I like to get under the skin a little bit, because I've been that person. I've probably said things that have been off-putting or come off egotistical, in my faith. And that's something I definitely am engaged in our work. And going to follow up on another comment too, when you were talking about how sometimes it's challenging, to give and take. We also had to get things in writing when it came to our relationship. And we just had to re-engage a lawyer to talk about, okay, things are great right now, but let's just make sure we cover the bases. Any single scenario, this lawyer is saying, you have to think about this and you have to think about that. This could happen and this could happen. And what if Jeremy books a show? And Tony, what if you're on a film over here and you can't do this and this and that? So dotting all of those I's and crossing all of those T's
that can be uncomfortable.
Very.
Because you're like, oh, I just want to make stuff, and I want to make projects and write and stuff. I don't want to get caught up in that legal stuff, but it's so important, because this is a business. It's show business, and as much as we want it to be show friends, it's show business. So, we've had to cross that bridge too, and we're actually doing it more at this point. So, I think it's extremely important.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're doing it the way we are doing it. This is such a learning experience for me, guys.
Yeah.
I haven't been on this side of it.
Such a learning.
In this business, I haven't been on this side of it. And I'm happy to be doing it.
I love it. This is not a comment on the thing that I can't pull in, but my co-host on my Friday show, Christina Jackson, is texting me. She's like, you said you were straight, but you got bisexual lighting going on in the background. I'm like, yes, I'll take it. It's so true. That's the second time I've heard that idea that there's bisexual lighting vibes. So I'm going to take it. Pink and blue. Is that what you're talking about? I'll take it. My love, and I'm probably on the spectrum. So when I talk about sexuality, I'll take it. I'm good and free in that way. So bring it on. I love it, Christina. Thanks for bringing that up. All right. So Robertino, one of our LGBTQ homies, as well as someone who just posted today on our Brave Maker Instagram. He has been in multiple shots with Jeremy, because he has been on films that Jeremy has been. I'm going to pull that up. He was both in Dreamer as well as La Mission. So Robertino is asking a question here about, what do you think needs to personally happen to raise the percentage of Latinos in Hollywood, since you are musically talented and a screenwriter? Any musical film project in the near future?
What do I think needs to happen? And this has been a conversation that has been happening between me and my peers in this business for years and years. And oh yeah, I remember. It's just Latinos being you know, in the studio system, being writers, being directors, being producers, and it's hard. I'm trying to articulate it and I'm doing a terrible job, but it's just Latinos in places of power in making decisions and actually greenlighting projects. Now, do I think all the stories need to be Latino stories? No, but they need to be real human stories. And the world we live in is a mixed racial world. And sometimes, especially in the past, that wasn't represented well in film and television. And it's still a challenge, but hopefully we're making inroads, and we continue to.
As a brave maker, organization, that's been one of the things, like I'd say, like one of the foundational reasons why I started this nonprofit is because I felt like I was ignorant to that. And even like when I think back to my very first film with you, Jeremy, 1440 and Counting, it was really fun because as I was writing this, my one of my mentors was saying to me, like, hey, your main person is a Caucasian teacher, why? And I was like, well, I wrote this based on a true story of a woman that I know. And she said, well, why does it have to be a Caucasian woman? Why don't you cast it? Like, do blind casting. Don't just put Caucasian, put, any ethnicity. And I was like, okay, that's totally cool. I could do that. It was like not on my radar. That's because I'd say that's part of my racial ignorance and part of the reasons why I needed to learn, like, what did it mean to be, an anti-racist or to be more racially just. And so that whole trajectory changed when a friend of mine who is a agent said, hey, if you want to cast a Black woman in this role, I've got the perfect one for you, Loretta Devine. And it just, again, it changed my whole perspective and understanding of what we hear people talking about in regards to like the systemic racism in our world. I was part of that. I was contributing in the stories that I was telling or the stories that I was elevating. I wouldn't say I wanted to do that, right? Who wants to be racist? I mean, I'm sure there are people who want to be racist. Okay, we know there are people, but I didn't want to. And I think that was a hard pill for me to swallow, that I needed to make some changes in how I understood stories and how do I use my influence or the power that I have to do better in this industry. So that's what's cool. It's like to partner with you and to look at our stories. All of the stories that we're working on are
racial.
Yeah, real world, right? Real people, real world. Like that's something that I think this gets me excited, and I want to live in a world that looks like that, because that's the real world, and I need to learn from that, right? I want to look to those stories as a way that I could learn too. Oh, Jessica. Hello, Jessica. She's popping in here. What do we got here? You're sharing a YouTube link. Uh-oh, I'm kind of nervous. If I click on that, what is it going to be? I'll have to look later. Are you doing the behind the scenes of 1440 and Counting? It could very well be. I'll have to look at it later. Okay. Anybody has any more questions? Feel free to pop them in the chat. I had a couple questions that I put to Jeremy that I wanted to.
The second part of that other question is, as far as musically, no, I don't have anything planned musically. I'm not even playing in a band anymore. I played in bands for, I feel like, most of my life, and I got burnt out with it and got to do some really fun stuff. But now I'm just focused on acting, writing, producing.
And Jeremy can be found on The Bold and the Beautiful as Detective Alex Sanchez.
3 years now. I've been doing that show now for 3 years, and I love it. I was just working on it last week, and just such a great family, such a cool place to be. It's so intense. It's so hard.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because we have a lot of people who listen to our podcast or watch our show who are actors. Let's talk about some acting stuff for a few minutes. What would you say to people who want to act? What do they need to be doing?
Study, study, study. Study. Study, and then study again, and then study more. Find great acting coaches, not just one. Find multiple acting coaches and study. And that's just the truth of it. I mean, you have to be great at your craft, and you have to be a really good actor in order to book work, because it's so hard. It is. And it's you have to be on top of your game because you are competing against really, really phenomenal artists from all over the world that come here to do that one thing, to act. As far as working, what is this? As far as working on a daytime show, I found this project, or this experience to be probably one of the most challenging experiences of my career. It's so fast paced. It's so intense. There's so much dialogue. There's so much memorization. And I hear people like bagging on daytime television, being like, oh, he's a soap actor. Oh, they're on soap operas. Bleh. Like, you have no idea how much work, how hard these people work, how intense they are, how much they care about what they do. And to think, to be so arrogant is to say like, oh yeah, you're on a soap or whatever. It's like, you just have no idea. It's a proving ground where I see people just wilt and they can't handle it all the time. There's so much dialogue. You only have 1 or 2 takes to get your scene done. Literally pages and pages and pages and pages every day. And my fellow actors and the people that are on the show more than me the stars of the show are so talented and are so hardworking. I have the most respect for these people. I've shown up to big, huge movies or big, huge TV show sets where an actor's only filming 1 or 2 scenes in the day and they can't remember their lines, or they show up unprepared. And it can't happen in daytime TV. It just can't happen. There's a million actors out there that want your job and they'll fire you and they'll hire one of them in an instant. So I feel like every time I'm working on the show, I'm studying like I'm taking my college finals because I don't want to be the weak link and I want to always show up prepared. There's this great, sorry, I'm just rambling, but there's this great quote that I heard the other day that said, you do not rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your preparedness. Yeah, that's it. And that just struck me as so true in this business. Unless you are working so hard on your craft and you show up to an audition or you show up on set and you think that you're going to rise to the occasion and be somehow better than you actually are, it's not going to happen. You are going to be as good as you prepared. And that's why I always try and over prepare for everything I do in this business. So that's my little.
That was a little Jeremy Ray Valdez masterclass on acting right there. Study, 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 make it happen. Christine says you fall to the level of your preparedness. Amazing words. Heck yeah. And I remember when we first started chatting about your role on the show, because you've been doing it for 4 years now?
Or 3 years.
Three. It was right before I started Bravemaker. I started Bravemaker, just 3 years ago, and I was living in my other house. I remember before I did that. That's like huge. But I remember you were talking about how sometimes they'll do 40 pages a day or something to that effect. And in film and TV, they say like 6 pages a day, but if you're doing 40 pages a day, that's like so much memorization and not very many takes. And
remember,
that's why
walking, your cues, what you have to do in every scene. It's mental gymnastics.
And how many people have had their starts there is pretty amazing. And then how many people who go to soap work, like the woman that you work with who is on the Wonder Years. What's her name?
Allie Mills. Yeah. Allie's
yeah.
Wonderful lady. Oh my gosh, she's such a sweetheart.
Because it's consistent.
For Wonder Years, and she loves being on Bold. And there's so many people who not only got their start in daytime, but they have gone back to it or whatever it is. They continue to work in daytime TV, or it just, you're an actor, you want to act, you want to work.
Yep, you sure do. All right, well, I'll do one more question here, unless anybody else wants to pop it up. Have you worked in New York, Vancouver, or Atlanta? Does talent override what city you live in for aspiring actors, or doesn't it matter anymore?
Okay, so yes, I've done. I was working in Atlanta this past fall, and I was working. I've shot films in New York. I think at this point, because of the pandemic, what it's really shown us is that you don't have to be in Los Angeles all the time in order to audition, okay? Or even work, of course. So many things. It's pilot season right now for me, so I've been auditioning for a ton of pilots, and they are shooting in Atlanta, in New Orleans, in Austin, in Vancouver, in Toronto, and those are most of the cities. I think there's been like one or two that are in LA. But now you are self-taping and sending your agent, sending your tapes into casting directors and producers. So no, you don't have to. A lot of my friends that are actors are fixing to move out of Los Angeles because it's really expensive here, and people want houses and open spaces for their kids. But the answer to that question is no. I know people that are based in Atlanta that are working consistently, that are based in New Mexico that are working consistently, Texas. I have friends in all these cities, and they all work.
Yep. That's the crazy thing about the pandemic. The pandemic sucked. I mean, it really put a halt into so many things, and I feel like ruined a lot of plans in the entertainment industry. And at the same time, it also catapulted us to be innovative and to recognize, I mean, the audition process will probably never be the same again. Like how much casting will probably continue on self-tapes, with people sending them, through email, and then maybe callbacks or the testing obviously is going to be in person. But how many first auditions?
We're testing right now on Zoom.
Really?
Yeah. These people, I mean, these people, I'm not saying these people like they're like in a negative context, but even you and I, when we're going to be casting our show, which is going to happen, mark my words, that you're going to have to take into account like people's availability. What's easiest for us? We're trying to knock out pages of a script, but we want to cast a show. It's like what maximizes our time. So yeah, they're even testing now, just via self-tape or via Zoom.
So if you are watching live or on the replay or listening on our podcast, I just want to encourage you, go after these goals, these creative goals you have. Do the work. It does not come easy. One thing that came to my mind that I thought I would share that is really relevant, Jeremy, without saying so many things, which is relevant to the process we just had this past week, is this concept of how in this industry, a lot of people can talk. They talk in many different ways. Like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, or I'm writing this, or I'm making that. But then you never see anything happen. Nothing ever comes to be. Or people say like, I'll get you that script, or I'll get you that lookbook, or I'll get you this on a certain day. And you're waiting and you're waiting. And you're like dying, like, when is it going to come? When it's going to come? And it doesn't come. And it's late. This idea for me that I feel like is a principle that is really important in this industry is don't just be a talker, be a doer. You don't have, like, if you want to prove yourself, which you don't have to, this isn't about proving yourself. Let your actions speak louder than your words. I also like this idea of under promising and over delivering. We talk about this a lot in Brave Maker because a lot of our work is being done like on micro budgets. People are getting paid nothing, if a little stipend. And sometimes like this is how you build your resume and you build your reputation is by committing to do something. Show up on time, show up early, stay late, do whatever it takes to be an active and dynamic part of the creative process. And if you commit to doing something, if you commit to sending in an edit or being an actor in somebody's proof of concept, follow through, because those things, those bridges that get burnt, Jeremy already said it. There's 500 people waiting in line to take your place. There are people who are give whatever it takes to get this role or get this spot or whatever. And if you're casual about it, if talent doesn't hustle will overtake talent. Like that's a true.
So I think the biggest lesson I've learned in all the years that I've been in this town is that people, regardless of your talent, you can be the best actor in the world, but if you're a jerk, nobody's going to want to work with you. Okay. The biggest lesson I've learned is just be nice to everybody and do the best you can and show up on time and be prepared and be the, just the best person you can be, because those are the people that people want to collaborate with, and those are the people that people want to work with. There have been moments in my career, especially in the beginning of my career, that maybe I wasn't. And if I could go back in time, I was stuck in this mindset where, oh, I'm an actor, I'm serious, and I'm just I don't need to shake anybody, not shake anybody's hand. I don't need to interact with people or be kind and friendly. I'm just going to go to my trailer, work on my lines, work on my scene, work on my character, and that's it. I don't have to have conversations. I don't have to be anybody's friend. And my work was good, and I was praised for my work, but there were moments when people were like, well, Jeremy's not the nicest guy, or, he's not the warmest person on set. And it wasn't that I was trying to be mean to people. It was just that I was really into what I was doing, and I was trying to be super serious and methody. Well, the truth of the matter is that when you're casting a project or directing a project or whatever it is, writing a project for somebody, people just want to work with fun, nice, hardworking, prepared, on-time people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had that conversations with young actors multiple times. A couple of people have not followed that, and I've seen where it's taken them. And a couple of people have followed that, and I've seen where it's taken them. And it's so important. Just my buddy says, like, don't be a dick, just be cool. and
you can quote that, take that to the bank.
Yeah, put that one at the bottom of the screen. And that's the biggest lesson I've learned in this industry.
That's cool. I wholeheartedly agree with you, man. Like, I want to be a life-giving presence to my team and to you, to the people we're working with. And I think at the same time, what I also hear you saying is there is a fine line, right? Like, as an actor, and I remember working with you, dude, this is so fun. I tell this story a lot when we were working on 1440 and Counting, and working with you and Loretta, how different you were, and how I had learned to direct and navigate through different personalities. And you were asking a lot of questions and backstory. And I thought, oh, I love that. And this is like, yes, this is what I want. I want that relationship with the director. And at the same time, I remember there was a time when you're like, hey, I need some space because I'm getting in the groove. So don't talk to me right now. And I remember thinking like, oh yeah, of course. At the same time, there's this fine line. Like, when you go on set, you don't have to be everybody's friend. It's good to get to know people's names, but at the same time, you have to do a good job. If you're an actor, you need to get in your trailer, and it's okay to do that. Just you do it kindly, right? You do it in a friendly way to say, hey, just so you know, like, I got to get into this space. So you're not going to see me at Crafty or at lunch, hobnobbing with everybody, because I got a really emotional scene I have to do, up next, and I got to prepare. So I think there's also that, for actors, you can swing to the other side, and it's really unhealthy trying to please everybody, trying to be everybody's friend. And then your performance super suffers, and it's horrible because it goes back to what you said earlier. It's all about the preparation,
I agree with you. I do. But, like I said, just be nice to everybody.
Be nice. Yeah. Take your time, get your space, but don't be a dick.
Just be nice. Thank people. These people are all working so hard. Oh my God. Yeah. I've produced other films, but this experience just reminded me the other day when we were shooting that, what it's like on the other side of the camera when you're not the actor and people aren't fawning all over you and you're not the center of attention. There are so many hardworking people that are working just as hard as you, but in a different space.
Yep.
That lighting guy that has to move those lights and make sure you look perfect. He or she, lighting guy or girl, them or they are working so hard.
Yep.
Person that's lobbing you up, that's capturing the sound, they're working just as hard as you are if you're an actor. Yep. And be respectful of that and remember that.
That's awesome. I love that, man. Yeah, I think you make a good point. Like, nobody knows how early we showed up on set that day or how late we stayed, right? So you never know what other people are doing when you're doing your thing on set, how much pain or suffering. There was times when you were putting out fires that I didn't even know about because I'm holding a reflector for something, and you're like, something just happened. Don't worry about it. I'll tell you later. Like, that's just like the set life. You're constantly making decisions and solving problems and putting out fires and making sure everything is tightly oiled, and it's beautiful, it's fun. And I'm with you. I was like riding high on adrenaline, 10 out of 10 afterward. It was like so perfect. No matter what went down, it was all worth it. Well, dude, this has been super fun, man. I don't know if you know this. I think I shared with you before that you and I started a hashtag for us. So if anybody wants to go look at the Val Gap hashtag on Instagram.
Over the years.
Yeah, you can see. Isn't that funny? Like, one of the first pictures we took together is the top left with you, me, and Loretta. And you can see one of the other pictures of one of the scripts that we were writing. We went on retreat in Santa Cruz. And then the time I came to visit you in LA, that black and white one, randomly you're holding a Swedish fish. I have no idea why.
I don't even remember where that was.
My gosh. Been super, super fun. Love you, man. Love doing this with you. And I hope we can do more. And thanks. What?
We will. And we'll keep everybody what's happening with this project.
That's right. You all who are watching live or on the replay, you can go and follow Jeremy. He is at Jeremy Ray Valdez on Instagram. Go check out our hashtag ValGap. And if you have any questions for us, just DM us or message us on the socials. We are active there, and hope that we'll be able to come back soon and share more about what we are doing in the future. If you have some desire, actors, to change your accent, maybe you want to learn how to have like that Boston accent, you want to like talk about parking the car, we have an accent coach on our show live this Friday. He's in LA. He's an accent coach. His name is Jack Wallace. So you can come back on Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's March 5th for a live show with my co-host, Christina Jackson. And that's all we got. Anything else you want to say? Final words, Mr. Jeremy Ray Valdez?
See you later, alligator.
Thanks, everybody. See you soon.
Follow us on